Hi, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Um, Here we are. We're finally showing up, and I say we because so many people that I've worked with over the last 2.5 decades, and you might ask yourself, what do you mean worked with? Well, I've been a professional counselor, life skills coach, therapist, trainer. I've worn many hats over the last 20 plus years. Again, beginning in 1987. Um, and in 1993, I began to dedicate myself, my life, my professional life, to addressing what back then people were barely starting to see and now overwhelmed with. What you're asking is this huge, magnified sense of entitlement that seems to be sweeping our nation and permeating every facet of our lives, whether it be finances, personal health, academics, you name it, our families, the way we raise our children, the way our relationships, our marriages, um, everything is being impacted in ways that have been so magnified and so accelerated that it's hard to get our head around it sometimes. And so we just end up shaking our head, just going, what in the heck is going on? Now, as a counselor, of course, and as a therapist, and over the last decade, especially, I've been working with um, families, and many of these families are in high levels of tension and conflict and distress, in working with parents and teens and children. But often I hear parents say, John, what in the heck is going on here? My son or daughter doesn't seem to uh, respect my authority. Um, Even society doesn't respect my authority as a parent. Um, Kids in schools getting away with more and more. So I'm constantly, there isn't hardly a day that goes by that there isn't a parent or someone lamenting about this magnified sense of entitlement that people have. You just look at all the different things that have happened in even the last year. We watched the presidential election. Hmm? Look at all the indulgent behavior that came out of that presidential election from all the different groups. People talk about division that occurred. People began to use as an excuse that they didn't get their way to attack other people. What used to be kind of sacred ground in terms of our elections and respecting the title of our offices and our leaders is completely out the window. Who's leading the charge on that, by the way? Adults. Turn on your TV. You'll see the adults slandering, bad mouthing, looking for any opportunity to express themselves. And when I say express themselves, I mean their own personal truth. And this is one of the signs and symptoms, one of the nasty outcomes of a sense of entitlement. Is that when magnified entitlement begins to show up, what you see is a grandiosity. Someone who thinks that their opinion is beyond question, that what they think is absolute fact, and without respect for any boundaries or any code or law. So it's happening in all levels of society. So I hope you'll want to join me in this journey, because I want to share with you. And as I said, I've had many people approach me over the years and say, John, where can I get this information? Where can I learn what you're teaching? Where can I read some books, etc.? And all I can say is, sorry, you've got to come to the presentations. When I have a speaking engagement, or when I do a presentation somewhere, or on my weekly parent leadership group, show up at those groups. Now, I've also written a number of short articles, what I call reflections, on a number of topics that I send out very often to people who are on my mailing list. So if you're interested in that kind of information, a lot of it is geared towards parents and families, but we're definitely going to expand this. It's only been the last decade I've worked with families. Prior to that, I was working with youth and just the different things that people are facing. Like I said, personal growth issues, employability issues, marital conflict, whatever it is, I have dealt with it. So I can share all sorts of information with you, and I will be producing more clips. But this video series that I'm going to start, this information sharing that I'm going to start, is a response to the many requests to have more access to this information. Now, again, I want to emphasize that this is not just something that that I put together and have never tested. As I said, I began to work on it in 1993 and developed the empowerment philosophy and what's known as the integrity model. I've taken that approach. I created an entire curriculum that I used and I continue to use with all sorts of different counseling, whether it be individual counseling, couples counseling, group counseling, or even life skills groups for teens and for adults. In fact, one of the first applications was back in 2001, where I began to do life skills groups for teenagers who were at risk. And we eventually ended up creating a one-of-a-kind program called the Baristas Youth Skills Link program in Surrey, British Columbia, which was a partnership with the federal government, Starbucks Coffee Company, and a nonprofit that I was working with. And it created some of the most outstanding results that anybody had ever seen. We had many requests from across the country and inquiries from other places on the globe wanting us to share this information with them and to replicate the program. Yeah, I mean, it's been proven. It's been tested over and over and over again in all sorts of different avenues. So I'm going to be sharing this information with you, and I hope you find it very beneficial. And like me, I hope that you want to be on the cutting edge of if you will, turning this tide around, or at least being effective in working with it, so you don't get swamped, so you don't get exhausted in it, that you can find a place to stand where you're resilient and strong, and where you can be a champion for what is right and true. Remember, this is all about integrity, and I haven't met one person yet who doesn't want to be a person of integrity. I haven't met one parent who doesn't want to be the best leader they can possibly be. I haven't met one parent who doesn't want their son or daughter to grow up to be a person of integrity. That's where the integrity model starts. So thank you for tuning in, and I'm going to post some of these videos and on different topics, and feel free to email me with any questions. Have a good day.